Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Reading from Purification of the Heart, translation and commentary by Imam al-Mawlud's Matharat al-Qulub by Hamza Yusuf, Chapter 2, Wantonness. Poem, verse 30 to 31. As for the disease of wantonness, its definition is excessive mirth, which, according to the people of knowledge, is having excessive exuberance. Treat it with hunger and the remembrance of the hereafter, reminding yourself that God says He does not love the excessively joyful, which alone is a deterrent. Definition and treatment. The next disease the Imam writes about is wantonness, along with excessiveness, an unbridled desire to need and want more. The word batar has several meanings: the inability to bear blessings, bewilderment, dislike of something undeserving of dislike, and reckless extravagance. Imam Mawlud says that according to the people of knowledge, it is defined as excessive mirth and exuberance. The Quran says, "Obey God and His Messenger, and dispute not among yourselves, lest you falter, and your strength departs from you. And be patient, for God is with the patient. And do not be like those who leave their homes batar, filled with excessive pride about their state, showing off before people and preventing others from the way of God, and God encompasses what they do." Quote from the Quran, Surah 8, Ayat 46 to 47. And how many cities have we destroyed that exulted in their livelihood? Here are their homes now uninhabited after them, except for a few. Quote from Quran, Surah 28, Ayah 58. The world of ancient civilizations is full of ruins of once grand structures and communities that used to be teeming with life, inhabited by people who exulted in their wealth and accomplishments. When one visits these ruins, one notices the utter silence of these towns. Each soul that lived there is now in another state, awaiting God's judgment. Wantonness is a disease to which the world's affluent societies are particularly vulnerable. In societies that are extremely pleased with their standard of living, their extravagance and hubris are obvious. One sign of these conditions is the ease with which people enter into debt and live contentedly with it. People are consciously living beyond their means in order to maintain the appearance of affluence. This is a product of wantonness, willingly falling headlong into debt in order to achieve a certain material standard of living. The Imam posits that the treatment of wantonness is to intentionally experience hunger and to reflect seriously on death and the hereafter. Experiencing hunger can be achieved through voluntary fasting or by simply reducing what one eats. One aspect of traditional medicine related to spiritual cosmology, whether this tradition was Greek, Chinese, or Arab, is the belief that too much food harms the spiritual heart and, in fact, could kill it. It is commonly believed that people who eat in abundance become hard-hearted. Those who consume an abundance of rich foods may literally become hard-hearted with arterial sclerosis, the hardening of the arteries. From sclerotic, which means hard, rigid, or stiff. Likewise, what happens to the physical heart may parallel what occurs to the spiritual heart. Scholars of various religions often expounded on hunger as an important sensation that feeds spiritual growth. Feeling emptiness in the stomach, they said, is excellent for the body as well as the soul. According to Imam Malik, fasting 3 days out of the month is the best way to maintain a regular engagement with hunger. The fasting regimen, also known as the fast of Dawood, consists of fasting every other day with the exception of religious holidays. Fasting Mondays and Thursdays is also an excellent regimen. Whichever pattern of fasting one chooses, it is important to maintain it, for fasting is an excellent form of worship that is beloved by God and praised by the Prophet ﷺ. It is also a protective shield against wantonness. The second aspect of the remedy is to remember death and the hereafter. What is meant by remember here is not the common function of memory, in which one merely recalls a fact without any reflection. In fact, no spiritual remedy mentioned in this book involves a flaccid process. Each requires exertion and a true desire to achieve success in its fullest sense. Freeing the heart of diseases such as wantonness requires remembering the hereafter and its various states and tumultuous scenes. For example, one should reflect on the state of the grave, which will be either a parcel of paradise or a pit of hell. Once a person dies, his journey in the hereafter begins. Meditation on the hereafter requires learning more about its various stages and passages, including the traverse or sirat, over which people must cross and behold below the awesome inferno of the hellfire. Consistent reflection of this nature lessens the apparent value of extravagance and, in general, all the fleeting enticements this world has to offer, whether it is wealth, prestige, fame, or the like. The Imam cites the verse, God does not love those who exalt. Quran, Surah 28, Ayah 76. Whether it is in their wealth, status, or anything else. Images glorifying wantonness are ubiquitous in our times. Even as one drives, he or she is accosted by billboard advertisements that show the faces of wantonness. People in ecstatic postures with exaggerated smiles and gaping mouths, showing off their supreme happiness because they own a particular type of car, or smoke a certain brand of cigarettes, or guzzle a certain brand of beer. Alcohol that destroys lives and minds. According to advertising theory, when people are constantly exposed to such images, they not only incline toward the product, but desire the culture associated with it. Advertisers sell a lifestyle that glorifies wantonness and subtly dissuades reflection. All those smiling people on billboards and all those who aim their glances toward them will inevitably die someday and stand before their Maker. This is the ultimate destiny of all human beings. It is this realization that is the slayer of wantonness.